hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another live show. Wow, if you're watching along with me there, I was intending to be here on time, and then I needed to get some water, so I ran off to do that. Excuse me. And here I am, back again. Let me know if you can see and you can hear me just fine. I sure hope so. Yeah, everything seems to be set up just fine. And I can hear myself in my headphones as well, which is a good sign. So, welcome. Thanks for being here. Um, Randy says, see and hear. Excellent. Happy to hear it. Um, Sound and vision, fine. Thank you for that. It's fine. Good. So, we've got the usual, live show planned today. Questions, answers. I will show off some bits and pieces along the way. And the main thing I wanted to talk about was the AeroCaster from Roland today, but we can talk about something else if we want as well. I also have a new audio mixer here on my desk as well, so we can show that off now or later, depending on how things go. What else? Yeah, I guess I've been out of the office for a lot of today, so I rushed in at the end there and set up a few things. Let me see who's in the chat today. I just want to fix one thing here. What was I going to fix there? Yeah, let me just set up my social graphic so it disappears after about 15 seconds. That will be fine. All right, cool. Hello, hello, hello. Who's here? Hey, Hans. Thanks for joining from here in Sweden. From IT Never Gets Old. Nice. I wonder, someday I want to learn your real name. IT Never Gets Old. And Randy, always good to have you here from Dripping Springs, Texas. I am taking a break from digging a trench for power to my storage building. Had 2 live shows over the weekend. Wow, that sounds like a good weekend. Hello from lots of other places here: Monterey, UK, Germany. Take out one of my ears here. I can barely. I feel like I'm shouting. That sounds better. Hi from Glasgow. Hello, hello. Hamburg. Lots of places. Excellent. Always happy to see. Lots of names. David wants to know, are we already seeing video processed through AeroCaster? No, this is not through AeroCaster. This is through my usual setup with the ATEM, and then it goes from the ATEM into vMix, and I add the graphics on top, and from vMix I stream it from there. So this is not AeroCaster video. We will dig into the AeroCaster specifically. I have it here on the desk beside me. So I have my iPad because that's basically what it's sort of used for. And then I have the AeroCaster unit here. Now this is not really, I think the terminology here is something we need to sort of chit chat about a little bit. I think AeroCaster is what the whole service, this is the impression I get. AeroCaster is what the whole sort of service is called, or the whole ecosystem is called. And then from there you can have a couple of devices. So here, for example, I have the Roland AeroCaster. Let me see, it says on the bottom, the you probably can't see that on the shot there. No, the VRC01. So that's what this little piece of the puzzle right here is called, the VRC01. And then from there you pair that with, for example, the iPad app to control it, and then you can pair it with cameras to get data and video and audio into the whole system. So it's interesting. I've had it for about a week now, and kind of testing it out. Someone says frozen video, John. I hope it's working just fine. We'll see how it goes. I'm guessing other people can let me know if the video is frozen as well. Now I'm back. Excellent. I did maybe quite foolishly choose ultra low latency today just to give it a go. So it sounds like a little bit of freezing coming and going, but it's all good. Okay, well, we'll just keep digging through, and then I can always backtrack a little bit from quality just in case that's what's doing it. So yeah, that is the start of the show. Good to have you all here. That's what we'll look at today, and anything else that pops up. And if you have any questions, do throw them into the chat. If you add here to record, tag me on there, I can see it a lot better. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep plowing on through and get through the show. It's paused. That's a shame. There's not really much I guess I could do about it other than stop for a minute and send a lower quality. But either way, am I recording it? I am recording anyway, so I guess I can just upload this later if things crumble apart and we can dig in to the AeroCaster. So, like I said, let's head back over to the overhead shot here. Two pieces to the puzzle right now, which is the sort of hardware unit and then the application that runs. Now, interestingly, you can't do anything without the other piece. So, for example, here on the little unit I have here, you have a few connections on there, but you don't have much on here. You just have a couple of bits and pieces. Froze again. Let me see. Oh yeah, I can see that. I am froze going into my ATEM, interestingly. Oh, I know what happened. Okay. So this is fun. You could hear me that whole time, I'm guessing. Audio good though. Yeah. Okay, so here's what's happening. This is crazy. So when I cut to this camera that's above my head, getting a shot of the AeroCaster, then it freezes the video on my last frame. So let's try it again. Weird. Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on there so I can show you this other shot. Otherwise, this really screws us over. But this is what live's all about, right? So it's not an internet problem. It is the shot, the camera going into the ATEM. What you can't see in front of me here, I can't cut to another camera to show you this, but I have my program output on a display in front of me. I can just take off these headphones. I don't need them. I have my program display here, and when I cut it, it cuts just fine. It's just that whenever it goes into, goes into my vMix setup, into the PC for streaming, it doesn't work just fine. So either it's not happy about the input. You can see this shot, right? Yeah, that works fine. Okay, so it must be something to do with the camera. So if I don't fix this, then this will be an interesting show, that's for sure. Let me just see if I can reseat. Reseat the old HDMI, see if that works. We're troubleshooting live here. Now it goes black. That's worse, right? You would agree that that's worse. Okay, yes, finally. Okay. So we're getting there. Now I'm not frozen, and you can see the shot. Okay. I don't think I need to reset the ATEM just now because everything's working again. You can see me, you can hear me, you can see my overhead shot, and as long as it keeps working, we're good. All right. Yeah, paused. It was frozen, and now it's fine. David, nice to have you here. I wonder if you were doing low latency because your show countdown timer seemed spot on, the top of the hour. Excellent. It did. That was a new feature I'm testing out for H2R graphics, where the big timer can be set to a custom time of day end time. Seems like the clock's working well, so a lot of people will be happy to hear timers are improved in the next version. Audio good, but no picture. Got it. Okay, cool. Seems like we cracked it. Now this is not, like I said, yeah, exactly. IT never gets old. The ATEM is jealous of the AeroCaster. You may be just right on that. So this was a good rehearsal. Now cue John. Yes, here we go. So interestingly, the camera that's above my head, the Panasonic G7, I never use that camera anymore because I'm just not as familiar with it and not as happy with it as I am with my GH5 and with the studio cameras from Blackmagic. And also I don't like it because it has the little micro HDMI connection. And in order to get it from up there over to this side where the ATEM is, I needed to run through a splitter, and I suspect that's why it's not happy. So, and it's still not happy. I wonder if I bounced it through a conversion of some sort, or I could turn the camera off and on, or we could talk about something else first while I figure out what's going on. Maybe that. Just hop into this question here. Have you seen? We've been using vMix ourselves for about 6 years now, but just looking at the new Blue FX Vivid Cast software alternative, have you seen this product? I haven't seen that one specifically. I've been using vMix for lots of shows for quite a few years now, so it would be quite the ask for me, I think, to jump on and use a different piece of software. I think I'm pretty deep into using vMix and have it running the way I want it to be running on my machine. So I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd be ready to make the switch anytime soon. Did I think? Yeah. Okay. I think I just thought of a good way to solve this issue. I don't need to show you all of the parts at one time. This is why after the show I go away and I'll make a video version of this a little bit slower and a little bit more edited, so these kind of things don't pop up and ruin a live show. But it's classic. Otherwise, we can dig into any sort of things that pop up. Let's see. Can you see my iPad? Yes, you can. Okay, cool. And then can I connect this? So like I was saying, we're just gonna keep going through this, and I'll make a dedicated video about this product in a little while where we can dig in even deeper to it. So if you feel like you missed out on anything, any features or anything like that, then I'll make it in that video. And if you have any questions about this or the setup in general, do throw them in the chat now or in the comments if you're watching this afterwards. But on the back, like I said earlier, there's only a few connections on there. A couple of XLR combi style inputs for audio, so you can run 2 audio microphones through those. And then beside that, we have this little tiny line in for, well, I was going to use that with my Lark headphones. We can come to that. And then what else? Oh yeah, you have a left and right monitor output as well, sitting right beside that. And then a couple of USB-C connections. One of them says here device, and the other one says DC in 5 volts. I haven't really dug through the difference there, because whenever I connect the device port up into my iPad, it just launches just fine, and it powers this little desktop device as well. So I'm not really sure what the difference between those two are. And if there is a difference, then, we'll see over time. Now the difference today might be, I might need to get another USB cable. Classic. Where do I have one that's sitting nearby here? I love a little spanner that gets thrown in the works and ruins otherwise slightly prepped show. Hold on. Maybe it's about pace. Maybe I'm used to like racing through the live show, that I rarely take some time and just, troubleshoot things as they pop up. This case, by the way, I've never really shown this off on a live stream before. This is my Bring It Everywhere case that I bring, well, everywhere. It's got like some power stuff in the bottom. It's got some, dongles, adapters, mostly Apple ones in the middle. And then on the top, I have lots of cables. Like, it's mostly for traveling. So I've got like iPhone, watch, and then all types of USB that I could possibly need whenever I am out and about somewhere. And today, I can hopefully use this USB A to C cable. Don't let me down. So what I have is I have the two devices connected up now, USB, and I'm just going to go and show you that now. If it works. Where are you? Painful. Or, you know what I'll do? I'm just going to do this old school style. I'm just going to show it to you on this camera right now. So, this is the AeroCaster application here. And this is where everything is basically controlled from. All your cameras, media, and your scenes and stuff will come in on this side, and then you can do some tweaking, and then you'll see like a program output and a preview over here. I've been playing with this for, like I said, I got it like last week or a couple of, what day is this? Monday? So last week I got it, and I just plugged things in, see how they work, and did a little bit of tinkering. It's been a little bit interesting so far, I must admit, and a setup like this that relies so heavily on connecting cameras and sources via like wireless methods can often be like an interesting situation in general, because what you really need to trust is that everything will work well for you in the long run. So if you turn on a camera in the same building over Wi-Fi and then things don't go to plan right away, then it can be a little bit fun while you try and figure out what is going wrong, just like I'm doing right now. So I can show you this, I guess, now. If I just reconnect my adapter. Did you hear that? Ah, you know what? Never mind. So, anyway, I'll just dig in a little bit to the features that I've tried so far, and then from there, I can take some questions, or I can just look at this at another time. It's not like I have to do it today, but I know many of you joined me to explore it, so we'll see. So the cameras that you connect to this, like I said, are all either via a browser link, which is one option, which can be one of the inputs. You have iOS devices that run the camera app, or you can have the camera itself. So you can see that there. This is the iPad camera itself as one of the sources into the AeroCaster. Now this is one of the ones that I'm really interested by, because what that means is that you need this to sort of be looking, in general, if my production is taking place in front of me here, I want the iPad to be looking and sitting up like this, so I get a great shot of the production. And I'm not entirely sure how that would come in handy for any sort of production. You really need to have like that perfectly framed shot. So using the onboard camera, I'm not entirely convinced by at this point. Also, you can, let me see, where is that setting at? You can flip things around and stuff and control the camera, of course. So you have full control over that camera. But I'm not entirely sure. You wouldn't want to use that live, basically. You could use that in setup for sure. Interestingly as well, you can use the front camera on the, you can see a nice close-up of my face there, the front camera. So in theory, you could set this up so it sort of looks at you while you're interviewing someone else live. But yeah, I don't yet see a use case for this. Use the onboard camera as one of the sources. I think it would make more sense for all of the camera inputs to be secondary iOS devices and maybe other like tablets or other things like that. I would imagine that you would probably use it for that, where you have separate cameras set up on some stands and things like that. Interestingly, what the reason that I can't show you the interface via HDMI is because you can actually use the HDMI output on the iPad to show the program. So I can show you that because that's working. So here you can see my fingers there. Um, where is the camera? There. So this is one of the camera shots. You can see me. Hello, hello. And like I said, this would have to be perfectly positioned somewhere. If you wanted someone looking in the camera like that, or maybe looking off to the side, shooting an interview, I'm not entirely sure at this point how useful that would be, but yeah, maybe. The other cameras that you connect up, you can use the AeroCaster app on the App Store. I know it's available for iOS, and I think that one's available for Android as well. And then you just get a little QR code, and you can connect those cameras up to that. In fact, I suppose I could do that now too. I have the Aero camera connected to my phone, and then it sort of says connected, and gives you a little bit of data about what is being shown. And then if I head back over into the application here, I will just set this camera up pointed at, what should I point it at? I can point it at my mug there, and then cut to that. So there it is. So this is the camera coming in. I'm just waving my hand in front of it now. And in fact, now I can finally show you this piece. So you can see a little bit of, a lot of pixelation there actually. Everything is connected via my Wi-Fi right now. In theory, this iPad should really be connected via Ethernet. So I could have done that over USB for sure. But you can really see the quality that's pushing out. In fact, I can see on the phone here, it's saying the quality is limited. So the bandwidth is the reason. I don't see that being the case since my bandwidth here in the office should be fairly sufficient to keep that going. So it must just be a connection to the Wi-Fi issue. I would connect the iPad to the Wi-Fi or to the wired internet for sure if I was doing a job out somewhere. But I certainly wouldn't connect the iPhones or the other devices because in my mind that doesn't really make much sense to connect the phones or other devices around the place to a network. You're going to start running cables to those, like a network cable, and you probably want to power them too, so some sort of power. And at that point, you're getting yourself in this position where you have lots of cables going to an iOS device that it's on a tiny stand somewhere. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm not entirely convinced at that point just yet. Let's see. What are people saying so far? Other than the fact that, my overhead camera is still not working. It's let us all down. Next time. I'll come back to that one later. I can save some of these questions that that are sidesteps for now. Nicholas, nice to have you here. The other USB-C port is primary for power and can maybe be used for other things in upcoming firmware. Good to know. I will be happy to hear that. A couple of new features on the way would be welcomed. To me, the whole sort of integration in general sort of feels like version 1 of the app, and I believe it is. So it's only fair to say that it may be version 1, but it feels very version 1 of this iOS app that I was trying out there. You know what I'll do is I'll just launch the NDI camera on my phone, so then I can show you these two devices side by side. We're just freestyling today. Let's make sure the audio is off for that, which it is. Great. So I can actually show you these two devices side by side now. Fine. I'm an idiot. Today has been one of those days. I'm back. You lost a lot of that. I feel like we should just, put it in the diary for next week, and I'll go through the AeroCaster live demo that's totally live. This is a perfect comment from Eric. The best laid plans. You're absolutely right. I'm not. It's fine. I'm not that worried because why else am I bothering to do this other than having some fun? So let's try that all again. I've turned off audio follows video, and I'm going to cut to my other camera so I can show you this again. And now you can still hear me. Excellent. Okay, so I have both devices side by side, and you can see here with this connected, I can use some the audio faders, and I can use all that good stuff. I can cut between showing cameras and things like that. I have set up this user button to be a cut button, and in fact you can load in your own media into the device. So for example, I have this little photo that was on my iPad and now it's on the device, and then I could use this to bring it to air. So there you go, I'm showing it on air. Or I could use my user defined button over here to cut to that, and you can just see it happening there in the background. See, this is where things get fun. Is that showing things live means you get to see some quirky stuff happening. So if I was showing you this right now, the photo comes and goes. Interesting, nevertheless. I haven't been told. This is on loan, this device, from Roland. They were very kind to send it my way. Happy to be playing with it. I'm not sure yet if these things are shipping out, but I have started compiling a list of quirks I have found along the way, and then these things can be fixed. If it's an iOS app that just needs to be updated, or the firmware on the other device needs to be changed, they can figure all that stuff out and make these changes. I don't think it's asking too much in that sense to fix those things. So I'm happy to be testing it out, and I'll give them some feedback about anything I find along the way. So back over to the device itself. On the app where you make a lot of the adjustments, we have all the inputs at the bottom, and then we have some scenes above that. So you can do like side-by-side scenes and stuff. You can see I don't have many inputs here, but you can do those kind of things and have them all set up and ready to go. And then all the control of the settings are over here. So for example, if I wanted to go to camera 1 and actually adjust things on that camera, I can do that here. So I could control a iOS device or a phone device across the room, across the network, and zoom in and out and change the exposure and white balance and all that good stuff. So that's quite nice that they have that stuff all in one place that you can make tweaks. I did find that the zooming there was something strange about. Oh yeah, it wasn't zooming while you dragged. You drag, let go, and then it zooms in. So I wouldn't do it live. It's more of a setup kind of thing. And you kind of have to get used to working on a touch screen. I'm so used to pressing buttons on the ATEM. I can have my hand over here and cut between the cameras if it works all the time. But on the iOS or touchscreen devices in general, you really have to learn a new way of working to reach out and tap, I find. If you do that all the time, it's just fine. It's just like the YOLO box, and I think somebody mentioned that earlier as well. Then you get pretty used to these kind of touchscreen devices. But for me, I'm not used to them. I'm used to actual physical buttons. And I think that's what kind of interested me in this whole setup in general, actually. I haven't been a huge fan of touchscreen only devices because of the reasons I mentioned there. If I'm running something live, I'm talking live myself as well, a part of the show, then you don't really get to reach down and press a button, and that's why Companion has been so useful for many of us. And I think in general, the reason I like this device is because it kind of bridged that gap in a sense, so you can use the power of the iPad for a lot of the work, and then over here on this device here, you can change audio and adjust things, or you could, you know, cut between cameras and do those sort of things. And you can go on air, off air. You can adjust dials. So I think I really like that mixture between those two possibilities, definitely. Um, yeah, I'll see if any questions came in along the way, and then yeah, we'll just see how it goes. So Dame says, feels great for run and gun, but not great for anything serious. YOLO box alternative sort of thing. Yeah, that's fair. I think I'd put it in that category. Something in the YOLO box area. Yeah, I think they're definitely in the same style of category for sure, because it's small, it's light. Like this piece of the puzzle here weighs basically nothing. It's very light. There's nothing in there other than a few audio bits and pieces, some, you know, circuitry to make the buttons pressable and light up. But it's surprising. That was my first impression. I was like, wow, this thing is really light. Maybe I'm bringing my iPad anyway to a show somewhere, so I have all the pieces I need, and then I add my phone maybe, or an iPod Touch. I saw somebody else mention this, so I guess you could bring. Eric says, I guess you could use an iPod Touch as well as a remote camera. That would be a perfect use case for those. iPod Touch, in the iPod Touch's sense, yeah, I guess in general you'd want to bring like set up your own wireless network and stuff like that, so you had something they could all connect to and talk to the iPad over. But sure, YOLO box is probably something I would sort of put it in the same category. And that was, yes, Matt Diver, thank you. That was a good demonstration of audio follows video that I set up earlier. That was my whole plan. Thank you. And it was a wonderful explanation. Damn, you're absolutely right. Yannick says, do you think the iPad will be replaceable by a Surface and or any other tablet in upcoming software updates? I'm not too sure about that one. This app that I showed on the iPad is an iOS only application. So as far as I know, I'm guessing that they would have to re-release it on Android or one of the other stores. I wonder, in theory, if they could release it on like an M1 Mac as well. I'm not entirely sure. But what I did find was, in fact, if I just quit the application here and then show you the app and launch it back up again, you'll see that this comes up here. So my first thought when I downloaded the app was like, well, couldn't I just use the application to do all my live streaming? But no, you need to connect the VRC01, which is this other little device here, to actually make the app work, as far as I can tell. I have noticed that as soon as you connect it, let me just connect that back up again off screen here, and then unplug it again, then it still works, the application. But you would need the device beside you to make that work. So so what was the point I was making? Oh yeah, so on the Surface or other tablet, it would have to be released on the Play Store, I suppose, or on another device. That would be the only way I can see it being a bigger ecosystem of devices. But for now, it's iOS. And as far as I could see, they were saying it's for your iPad. On all the marketing material that I saw, it was specifically talking to iPads. So I'm not too sure about them wanting to go any further than that. Greg, we need to hire John, a producer. Yes, that is a good idea. I wouldn't be making so many mistakes. I would blame them. I promise you, if you hire me as a producer, I would do a better job than I'm doing today as well. Just a heads up. Most of the time, anyway. No, you're not. Not to worry. It's YouTube live streams and live troubleshooting. Yeah, I mean that's part of it. I'm okay to make mistakes when I'm live on my channel, messing around with equipment. Otherwise, this is the place to make mistakes. Actually, that is a good point. I know I'm trying to make light of my messing around with stuff, but this is definitely the place to make mistakes and try to recover from it. Take two with a bit more passion. You're absolutely right. And I need a big cup of coffee. Nicholas, you are 100% right. Physical hardware audio faders are nice. Yes, they are really nice. In fact, a slight tangent off of the AeroCaster just for a few minutes while I tell you about something I bought this week or last week. Well, anyway, since we were last together, I got one of these. We can come back to the other device in a minute, but this is the Behringer Flow 8 if you're not familiar with it. I will just hold my camera as steady as I can, somewhere like there. Perfect. All right, so this is the Flow 8 from Behringer. It's a really neat little mixer. Now, this video is not specifically about that, but why not just have a look at it? It's what's powering my audio setup. In fact, I was still playing a little bit of music there, but you'll see that I have all of my audio is coming in through this right now. And I don't have much audio. I have that microphone that you can see there, which is obviously up right now. And I don't have anything on 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm using 5 and 6 for my computer audio, and then I'm using 7 and 8 for the music that you could hear at the start, which is playing out of my computer and then going into this device. And then I'm sending monitor 2 out to my ATEM, and monitor 1 is out to this nice little Genelec speaker that I just got as well. So these two together are my, major audio improvements to the studio here, and they actually have been huge improvements. Before this I didn't have any loudspeaker in the room here, so I always had to have headphones on, and sometimes you don't want to wear that. And the routing ability in the Flow 8 as well means that I can send different things to different places, of course, which is really nice. So what I'm doing right now is the main output is not going anywhere, just into a pair of headphones that I use sometimes. The monitor 2 is going to my ATEM, which is how you can hear me right now. And then the monitor 1 is going to the speaker in front of me, which is where I, if I'm on a Zoom call, I don't want to wear headphones, I could put it to that speaker, or I could play, play a bit of that music in the background. Maybe you can hear that. That is being played through the little Genelec speaker that's on the table here. And I could keep that down low just to make sure everything sounds just fine. I really like the speaker, the Genelec, yeah, going fancy with the Genelec. You're absolutely right. The reason I got that, well, there's loads of reasons. We used to use them at the old company I worked for, Wall Media, and I loved them, but we had the slightly bigger ones. And then recently I was working with another guy who lives here in Sweden, and he had these the tiny ones. I have no idea what number this is. I always forget part numbers. So it's the tiniest one I think that they sell. And it seemed just right for like a little space like this. I really like it. So just one is all I needed. The Flow 8 is really good for lots of different things. I'm really enjoying it. The only thing that's a little bit quirky about it, I find, is it doesn't have motorized faders, but it does have sort of 3 banks of audio. And it's something definitely to get used to. I'm kind of getting used to it pretty fast, but if you change between the monitor 1, 2, or main, then you have to do some adjustments. So for example, if I show you right now, you can see here on this audio for camera 1, or for microphone 1, the motorized fader should really have kicked in and went to the bottom, but since it doesn't have one, I have to find where it was before I change to this page. So if I change back to this other page, okay, now it's back up there. I need to find where it was. I mean, this is probably something you're very used to if you've used these kind of mixers before, but it just takes a little minute to make that adjustment in your head. Other than that, I've been very happy with it in general, definitely. Dame, thank you for the follow-up here. The 8010 is the smallest, 20 centimeters high. This looks about 20 centimeters high, so I'm going to go with that. So thanks for that. Okay, AeroCaster. Let's just circle back to that. Excuse me. And the time is disappearing. We'll see how it goes with a post-show. Maybe I'll just get through a few more AeroCaster questions, and then we'll slip into the post-show. Yes, sorry, I showed that there, Sven, sorry. White balance is nice. That's the thing has more features than the NDI HX camera app. Yeah, the white balance is a good one to have. You can make some tweaks there. Jared says, what about the output? It's only possible to go live directly from the iPad, or can you use the program out somewhere else? So the program output, the HDMI output from your iPad via one of these little, what are they called? Apple multimedia adapters. You get a HDMI output from that, and what you can send out of that is program or preview output. And that's why I couldn't show you the interface just now, because it was taking over that. So you could send that program output to anything else you wanted in the room, to a recorder, to a streaming box. But of course, the device itself also live streams and records to the iPad as well. So maybe you'd only want to use the HDMI output to show it on a bigger screen in front of you, just so you can see a good quality program output. But you could do things like that. Eric says, on which ports are on the back of the AeroCaster box itself, apart from the power? Yeah, I think maybe I was muted whenever I chatted about that earlier. We have a few ports. There's two audio combi style inputs with 48 volt phantom switches on each of them. And then there's this little line input as well. And then there is a, what was it again? Oh yeah, monitor left and right output on these, what are they, RCA style? I always forget what they're called. And then there's two USBs as well. One is for powering, and then another one is for the device. I just realized that the device one connects to your iPad, and then the power one will power your iPad at the same time. I'm sure that's what it is. That would make sense. And then, what else? Oh yeah, then there's a headphones / headset little input output here with a little tiny volume dial right here. So what you can do, actually, and I forgot to say, there is like a little microphone here too that you could use as a microphone. So if you're sitting beside this, you could talk into that as well. I'm still trying to figure out the use case on that as well, but it has it. More AeroCaster questions. Damn. So it does seem like the perfect device at the start of all the lockdowns, when the only cameras people had were their phones and trying to stream. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know this, but I feel like the lockdown happened and then this product went from like an idea somebody had to, we got to make this. I have no idea. That might not be the case. It might be something they thought about years ago or thought about 6 months ago. I have no idea, but it feels like that's exactly the traction that was coming. Although there's been devices like that around for a while now, like the Sling Studio. I felt like that was a similar-ish concept, so it's hard to say for sure. I just was thinking of hiring John as a producer. Please do reach out to me. I'm available, especially in Sweden. And again, I'll do a better job than my own show. Yes, Behringer for the win. I do see the Flow 8, and I was wondering if it was new. It is. It was. It is. Yes. I see plenty of H2R graphics questions. I can come to those in a minute. Very spare on the ports. Note, it's audio only, no video ins and outs on the AeroCaster. That is one of the really weird things that I thought about whenever I first had a look at this device. I made a little episode of In the Loop about this. And yeah, one of the things that was really strange to me was like, how can you have a audio and video streaming device that doesn't have a bunch of HDMI ports on the back? I mean, it makes sense based on the setup, but it just seems so strange to see a device without not even one HDMI output, nothing. So I guess it's not the point, it's not the market, but it is strange. Whenever you see all the other devices, YOLObox, ATEMs, even that AV Matrix one I took a look at a few months ago, you just get so used to the stack of HDMI connections and maybe some SDI. And Jonas here, nice to have you here, Jonas. Keep in mind, with the current supply chain issues, getting a camera might be hard versus getting a phone. It's true. I would be interested though to hear if you were going to use a device like this on your live stream, this goes for anybody out there, not just Eunice. Would you expect other people in your community or your organization or your team to use their phones and their devices? Or would you want to buy individual iPods for each of the camera operators? Because I can imagine it's sort of like those tele solutions that you see where it's an iPhone or Android phone showing the tally lights. And I always wonder if people would expect you to show up and use your phone on these devices. My guess is no, but I may be surprised. And you're right, it may be easier to get an iPod Touch these days versus a expensive camera. Alrighty, I tell you what we'll do is we will take a look at the fun credits today and see who was here and see who joined us. And then we will go into the post-show. If you're sticking around watching live, you can stick around for the post-show. But if you're watching on demand, then the post-show is for members of the channel only. And you can always sign up to be a member on the channel below any of the videos. So, yeah, I'm just going to have a nice water break, which will only be like a few seconds, and show you the credits. Where are they at? There we go. And otherwise, thanks for everyone for watching. There's me, Martin, Patrick, and Jim as well. So if you're help here on the channel, I'll see you in a few seconds after I get